Swanson. We're here with the one and only John WEDGER for Crime Theory. And before we delve into all that, John, how are you? Where have you been? Right, people have been screaming out for their John WEDGER fix. I know you've been all over the place. What's what you've been up to?
It's been absolutely crazy. I've been non-stop, really non-stop. Things have got, I don't know, it's just gone up, it's just exploded. I'm off to Bosnia in a couple of days. I've been invited out there. Funny enough, by the Catholic Church invited me out to Bosnia to do some bits and pieces. So I'm going out to a town called Medjugorje for a few days. I'll be back end of the week. The interviews, just interviews everywhere. It's like I keep saying, the stuff that we've been talking about for the last few years, me for a more protracted period, is happening. It's actually unveiling in front of people's eyes now. And, I got called a conspiracy theorist and this, that, and the other, but it's actually what I said was going on and how it would culminate is becoming reality. It's becoming news.
Yeah, and listen, it's insane what's been popping up in the news. There's two cases that I want to talk to you with you about tonight. First of all, John, one of them's Jill Dando. She's popped back up in the news, and whenever she pops up, I always think about season 1 of our show, and the show that we did about that. I mean, it got tens of thousands of views. I just wanted to delve back into that. The other one is Virginia, the lady who outed Prince Andrew and Epstein. John, I hate to say this, but I've almost perfectly predicted everything that's happened to this woman. Her supposed self-unaliving, the way the media has been using headlines as a way to pacify people's opinions on this. If someone if a celebrity unalives themselves, and then there's a headline that says family released last handwritten letter after self-unaliving, the majority of people are going to think that is the note that was left, if you see what I mean. And there's a lot of things where headlines seem to be being used for that demographic of people that just read the headline. They don't read the story. They're just scrolling. And opinions seem to be getting formed just off of these brief headlines. So I want to go into that too. But Jill Dando, right? Do you want to take people through, John?
I mean, Jill Dando will never go away because it's a bit like the Kennedy assassination. People don't believe the official narrative. And we have mentioned this before. And there's patterns. What you got when you investigate, you've got to look at patterns. And profilers, what they do is they look at patterns, geographical patterns. Behavioral scientists look at behavior patterns, narcissistic traits. They all go on a pattern. And the thing is that when people like what happened to Jill Dando, there is a pattern. It's a pattern emerging. We see the same thing. We see someone standing up and speaking out against tyranny, speaking out against abuse of children, organised groups doing it, well-placed groups doing it. And then we look at a murder. But then we look at who gets convicted. And we saw
hang on, before you go into that, John, just to clarify, Jill Dando was about to expose something, right? She was on the cusp of something. There's this whole theory that maybe she was about to blow the lid on Savile, right? Or something along those lines. And then she is, unalived on her front doorstep.
Yeah.
John, take us through the sort of textbook case of trying to pin it on someone, because that's basically what happened.
Right. Okay, so we look at a case that we covered on Crime Theory, that the murder of Leslie Mulseed, a young girl from, I think it was West Yorkshire, who just went missing. She was an underage, skinny, underdeveloped little girl that went to the shops as an errand, never seen again. And a few days later, she was found with stab wounds, multiple stab wounds in her back. And the police just covered it up. They claim that she could have gone and got a bus to London, and there's all sorts of stupid things that they come out with. And we saw the same thing happen in Belgium when two young children went missing, I think near Ostend, and they went missing in the middle of winter, no apparent reason, just running an errand. That was never seen again. And later they were turned up, their bodies were found. And the police came out with the theory that maybe the children had gone out looking to dig up some potatoes. And that they should be okay because if they get hungry, they can eat potatoes. Middle of winter, in sort of, heading towards Eastern Europe, and just people are meant to believe this. And Leslie Mulseed, there were quite a few suspects that were known to police. I couldn't, off the top of my head, sort of name them. I think, but one of them did crop up in the McCann case as being a transient PDF file who was sort of touring around Europe in a camper van, up to no good, and he was sort of on the scene of Leslie Mulseed's death and stuff like that. But they didn't deal with these people properly. They stitched up a guy called Stefan Kitschko, a mentally retarded, educationally subnormal individual who had sort of no previous with the police or anything else, and he got put away for 15 years in strange ways. If you're booted to, yeah, he got put away in strange ways prison for 15 years and was physically and mentally abused and tortured for near enough every single day of his false incarceration. But what happened was that the officer that orchestrated Kitschko's arrest and conviction was moved under a cloud and put in charge of the Yorkshire Ripper inquiry, which again he screwed that up. And there's a fantastic dramatisation based on this called Red Riding, and anyone.
Right.
It's on Film 4 made it. Anyone who wants to know how satanic networks exist, how they're organised, how cover-ups are orchestrated, please watch Red Riding. It's a trilogy, and it's. Bear with me 1 second. 1 second.
Of course, mate. No problems. All right, guys. While you do that, John, if you guys can make sure you like and subscribe, give us some shares. John's channel is listed in the description below. Please make sure that you use it. At the end of today's stream, there's going to be a very large update for those who have been following the movement and the case that I've been working on. There is a sentencing happening on Wednesday and a very important piece of content concerning a human transportation family, some convictions, and some absolutely evil monsters. You know the type of people we're talking about. I need your help to spread this word. Make sure you're still here at the end.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Some lovely Indian neighbour brought down some beautiful food for me. So
nice.
Anyway, just some nice people about there. So let me get centered again. And we see the same algorithm of cover up with Dando when they wrongfully convicted. I think he's applied for about, I think, a £1.6 million compensation award, which is yet to be proven in the High Court. And that's of Barry George, aka Barry Bulsara. And again, wrongfully convicted. We saw the same thing with Colin Stagg, who was stitched up for the murder of Rachel Nickel on Wimbledon Common, when the police had good information that actually a guy called Robert Napper, who was in the frame for the murder of another woman, similar circumstance, called Jacqueline Blissett. And Robert Napper went to the police station and said, I've done another one. There is another one I've done. And his mother even went into the police station in Plumstead and said, you need to arrest my son for this girl on the murder of the girl on Wimbledon Common, which was Rachel Nickel. And they didn't. They went and pursued Colin Stagg. And, when we went through it on the first series, look at what happened when the call went in about the shooting of Dando and the address in Fulham, and something in the region of about 23 ambulances were dispatched, all double crewed, and the crime scene was a small, like postage stamp sized garden, and everyone trod all over it. So the crime scene was decimated straight away. So there was no initial crime scene, which is very imperative to any major investigation, is that initial crime scene. And that was gone, that was finished. Now, what all these bizarre things, and we're told that they're just oversights, they're just quirk of fates, nothing to see, move on. But when you put it all together, it stinks. I say to people, right, I got an analogy, women, if your husband gets a new job and he doesn't really drink, and then he starts drinking, and he comes home and he's late, and then he's late the next week, and then it goes on to 2 nights a week, and then he starts smelling a perfume. At what point are you going to turn around and say, this stinks, you're lying to me, what's going on? It wouldn't take long. Yet people are...
John, it's the fact that you would think if one of these cases got screwed up, the officers would be held accountable, but they seem to just be promoted, handed over to larger cases that they're there to screw up. It's an orchestrated ploy. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it.
Well, this is one of the things. Funny enough, I did have a chat with Maggie Oliver the other day, and she's pushing for this new inquiry, and I sort of disagreed. We've known each other for many years, and we do have these discussions. I said, no, I think there should be an investigation, not an inquiry. And I think what they should be doing is looking for offences of malfeasance. Who were the decision makers? Who actually made these decisions? Not the officers that are ordered to carry this out on an action, not them. Who actually signed this off? Who dispatched the people? Who were the decision makers? And who was overseeing them? And then start bringing them in and investigate them and start seeing patterns. Have they done this before? Have they been in charge of major inquiries where there's been many question marks? I mean, look, the Metropolitan Police has got a unit that no one really knows about. And funny enough, they used to be attached to the fraud squad for some reason, but their nickname was the Celebrity Squad. And anything to do with a high-profile public figure or royalty or anything like that, this hand-picked elite, so-called elite, there's nothing elite about these people, a little team would be brought in and they would take over these inquiries. And it was basically run in secret, and they sort of, were there to, I don't know what they did, but they were known as a Celebrity Squad. They weren't even part of the murder teams. Bye-bye. They weren't even part of that. They were part of the fraud squad, which is very odd and bizarre. But this is what they do. They roll these same people out all the time. They're trusted few. And you will see the same police mouthpieces coming up and giving their opinions. The same, you just got to watch them. You'll see the pattern. You'll see the same people. They'll always be highlighting a problem. They'll never be given a solution or never a viable solution. And I'm giving a solution. I'm saying, go back, do an audit trail and find out who signed this off. Not the arresting officer.
Honestly, I think we need a new government. We need a whole new system, John. I think
people are just fed up of it, and the local elections have sort of really indicated that.
Oh yeah, I'm all for it, man.
They've had enough.
I'm all for it, bro. Like we need swift and precise action for this country.
Yeah.
I'm all for. I would literally let anyone have a bash at the next 4 years. Anyone at all. Don't, as long as it's not anyone from a party that's had a shot before. Any parties that have had a shot, I'm down for anyone, man. If Farage ends up winning, well, Farage ends up winning,
But if you look at the police force, right? So when I joined, it was those that were retiring back then had joined in the 60s, and they're police through the 70s and the 80s, and they were actually quite hard, tough, no nonsense individuals. They were people you shouldn't really be poking and prodding about because you're going to get whacked, and a lot of people did get whacked, and I witnessed a lot of people get whacked, and I whacked a few people myself, but they were brought in that way because that's what was needed. And that's what society demanded. But then reforms happened and they bring that under the guise of race, equality, or whatever it might be. But you look at what they've done now. They turn around and they brought in the condition now that you had to be a graduate. And then you see the state of the police now, and they look like left-wing school teachers. because that is what they wanted to employ. They wanted to employ, these cord wearing, bearded, uh, lefty types, all nice and fluffy and equality and everything else. But you ended up with a police force which is not fit for purpose. It's absolutely atrocious. Police should not be social workers. They have social workers as social workers, right? Police should not be politicians. Politicians are politicians. The police should be society's bin men. And that's what they are. We're society's bin men. And that's what we have to be. And our build, our attitude should reflect that. And they should be physically tough, and they should have a hard mentality and a no-nonsense approach. But they've gone the other way. And it's just shambolic. So you will never get the same degree of stoic individual you once had. But when we look back at these travesties, such as the Rachel Nickel, and we look at Jill Dando and quite a few others that we've covered, if we look at the Met Police, you're going to see the same people involved, the same senior officers, the same. This is a pattern. This is what I keep saying. Look at it. And if you look at, the Masonic curses, if you reveal a secret, you're going to get your throat slit, your guts pulled out, and your tongue cut off, and everything else. If you reveal the secrets, well, what was she doing? Maybe she was revealing a secret. She was warned.
Right.
She thought it was it was probably a joke, that they wouldn't do it, but they did it. That's what I believe. I believe it was a calculate. Whether they say it was a Serbian mafia bloke or not, well, of course, if you're going to put out a hit, you're going to get a foreign national in to do it. And if the bullet,
100%. But here's another thing: do you think the foreign nationals involved could have been involved in criminality, where her outing whoever it was, or what could have messed up their transportation organization, as opposed to being a direct hit? I just want to say as well, John, our first episode on Jill Dando was almost at 83,000 views. I just want to say it's.
I think, if you're using your own people to do it, you're bringing it on yourself a little bit. Get someone else in to do it. Like you look at organised crime in the United Kingdom. The Krays would use Glaswegian gangsters to do the hits for them, and they would send people up to Glasgow to do their hits. So I would say you use someone unconnected for it. And also, there's plenty of ex-military guys that's their game. They're snipers, they're professional hit. They've done it in a professional capacity. So this is business. And they've come over because they said it was a German small arm that was used by a Serbian mafia. So what difference does it make? She was executed on her doorstep.
Well, here's another point, John, that you mentioned in the first show, which I found really hard to believe, because there was something interesting about the way the ambulance crews responded to this in Jill Dando's case, right? Usually something happens, an ambulance will turn up, but you were saying there was reports of dozens of ambulance crews and no control over where the evidence was, and people were just trampling all over everything. And clearly that seems to be by design, right?
Yeah, it just confused everything, isn't it? It's the initial response, which is very vital. That's the main evidence gathering opportunity. Yeah. They call it the golden hour, where the police get most of their evidence. They sort of start really putting the foundations of an investigation down. And it was messed up. It was frustrated. It was, so there was a conspiracy. Well, of course there was. There's a lot to lose here. And if we look at Savile, say, for example, Savile was an intelligence asset. Say Savile was an informant for the intelligence services, and he was there to procure young kids to apply foreign dignitaries or industrial espionage. I mean, I did a bit of contract work for a security firm that was run by ex-special forces guys. I worked with one fella. He introduced me to these people, and when I was in a lot of financial difficulty, they sponsored me to do some bits and pieces for them. And I was really, really impressed with them. They were highly professional and all that. But the guy who ran the outfit, he did a thing called industrial espionage, and it was mainly surveillance. And he said we follow around a target that comes into the country, and the last one was an oil oligarch, and the rival company wanted us to get some dirt on him. So we followed him around, and we tried to compromise him with a prostitute. And it sounds James Bond, but this is what these guys were paid
Yeah,
to
of
do.
course.
That was their
Yeah.
job. And I did a
John,
couple of days surveillance with them, and they were bang on the button. They were highly professional. But he said, this is what it's a dirty business. It's a dirty
yeah.
game, and we're the ones used to do it. So it does go on. I know it goes on. I've
What do
seen
you
it.
what do you think of this headline here? Facial mapping puts Serbian assassin in frame of First Star's murder 25 years ago. Have you seen this image? Look at this. This is some filmed on a potato madness. So apparently this face here is this face here, right? And like,
Yeah.
where did they get this
Well,
from?
it
Is,
just
is,
so
is,
it
is this
just
some
shows.
sort of like Tinder profile for Serbian assassins?
Right. So okay. So this is the face of the killer, right? And they're convinced it is. So why did they go and arrest some bloke who's borderline Downs,
Right?
and was mentally retarded? So why did they do him? And those that did stitch this guy up, what happened to them? What happened to the senior investigating
Promoted.
team for the Dando inquiry? What happened to them? Nothing. Nothing happened to them. And it's the same as if you watch the documentary that was done on Colin Stagg, the Rachel Nickel murder. You watch the senior officer for that operation with the Met Police. He turns around after the court case in which Stagg is acquitted, and he said, well, it makes no difference to us. We will never investigate another person for it. We know he did it, right? He didn't do it. Yet this officer, I think he was a detective chief inspector, he went and got his pension. I bet he didn't get hauled over the coals. But his attitude, if he is the pinnacle of professionalism and experience for the Met Police, well, no one stands a chance. I don't even think they can even nick themselves shaving,
Yeah.
with this guy as a shining light, because he was clearly wrong in the light of information, right? That Robert Napper had already made moves to the police saying that he had done it. And he'd done an identical murder with a woman of Jacqueline Blissett. Yet this guy is stating no, and they adjunct provocateur Colin Stagg. They did it, and what happened to them guys? Nothing. And it's the same with the Diana inquiry. Like I keep saying, I knew a guy that was very, very sort of senior in the Diana inquiry, and he said anyone who thinks it's an accident is an effing idiot.
Yeah, but John, don't worry. 26 years later, they found an eyewitness. New Jill Dando murder revelations as fresh witness identifies notorious hitman. What?
Yeah, how's that happened then? What was it?
Where's he been mulling about? I mean, make that make sense to me. Just make that make sense to me, please, John.
Well, I don't know. I mean, how have they gone about that? Why is someone 26 years later? I mean, the continuity is off. The provenance of the intelligence won't be there.
I mean, that's a hell of a brain buffer, John. We all have moments where we're in the middle of a sentence and our brain just deletes what we're saying, right?
Do you know
26-year brain buffer seems a bit much.
What people fail to pencil in are the use of informants, right? And there's a thing in an investigation called primary and secondary disclosure, right? This is information that the police hold that can either undermine the prosecution case or it can assist the defense, right? And it's either sensitive or it's non-sensitive. Now, if you've got sensitive information which can damage the prosecution case and it can assist the defense, the police have to hand it over unless certain criteria is matched. And one of them could be an informant. And also there could be intelligence on Jill Dando that she had come to notice, or she had supplied information in the past about things, and they have withheld this for national security or for there's a whole plethora of reasons they can legitimately use to withhold that information. So what is needed is an investigation, a new investigation, a Home Office investigation, Lewis, and get hold of that disclosure that is caught around this, if it still exists, because it may well have been burnt, it may well have been shredded, but sensitive information goes onto a computer system, right? Goes onto an intelligence system, but that in itself is tiered, right? So you've got the low-level copper can put on intel, say Mr. Smith at number 26 is dealing drugs, right? And anyone can access that and see it, right? But if Mr. Smith is part of the intelligence service, or he's working for some national crime, organized crime operation, okay, it then goes up a level. So it then gets blocked from certain people. Only those on organized crime investigations can look at it. And then it might be that it's even more sensitive, and there's information that these different organised crime investigation units are leaking intel to each other and back to gangsters. So it gets narrowed down that only a certain section of that, and it gets narrower and narrower and narrower, right? Mm-hmm. And then when it gets to some of the stuff that I used to deal with, I used to go to an intelligence meeting and say, look, I've got this intel and so, right? What do you want me to do with it? And because it involved police officers and PDF files, I was told I had to hand write it. Okay, hand write it, and then I had to hand it over to the senior officer. Well, what happened to that information? Well, it got shredded, and I was told on no circumstance is it ever to go onto the system because it's too sensitive, right? And it's open to corruption. And I would hand it to the senior officer that I believe was part of it, and it never saw light of day. It just got shredded, and that's what I believe happened anyway. You know, so. This is how they control it. But what they can't control is people like myself and Maggie and Lenny Harper and Mike Veal, years later standing up saying, look, they're covering it up. And they've always covered it up. But
100%, John. And do you think they've just gotten smarter? I personally feel like there's been a downgrade in those who come to the police force. It seems like they're handpicking the yes men over the free thinkers, and it's a scary concept. Oh, you've muted yourself.
Sorry, someone called and it
that's all right.
It blocked it out. We need people to be speaking out now, but of course they then put clauses on the detectives and the officers that they're not allowed to say anything, and they will be subject to discipline if they leak this information. And then you've got contempt court issues and stuff like that, which ever stop it ever getting out. I just think that there is so much stigma around and question marks around this case that it needs to be reinvestigated. What they can't do is have the same people that looked into it in the past having anything to do with it. They can't. It has to be looked at with totally new eyes. And
100%. Well, look, John, we've as we've got our little call-in section, we've got a couple of people already waiting. So rather than keep them waiting, I just thought I'd drag Jane in, who would like to have a little word with you, if that's all right, brother.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Jane, are you with us? You're live on the Sean Atwood channel.
I think she just didn't.
I'll give you a minute, Jane.
Off you go.
Are you there, Jane?
Yeah. Oh, I'm here. Yeah, hold on. I'm just going to turn my telly off.
Okay.
Hiya.
How you doing, Jane?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Have you got a question or something you would like to put over to John or myself?
Yeah, I'm just going to put my sound on. Just
question marks around this case.
Yeah, Jane, you won't be able to have your sound on.
Sorry, I'll just turn my TV off a minute.
Yeah, Jane,
sorry.
I'm going to put you back in the other room. I'll let you get set up, and then I'll pull you back in. Are you ready just now?
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep. Hold on a sec. I can't hear you very well, and I have got the phone not the right way.
Okay. Well, then there's nothing I can do for you, Jane. I'm so sorry. I can't fix the tech problems at your end, sadly. I will pull you back in a minute, though.
Let me just hold on.
No, I'll put you back in there, and I'll bring in Uber. How we doing, Uber, mate? How are you tonight, mate? Are you there, bro?
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm very well. You're live with me and John. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, John. How are you, mate?
Hello, good.
Oh, hang on, I'm getting.
What are you wanting to throw at us tonight, Uber?
Yeah, John, it makes total sense when you talk about Jill Dando when it's saying that you bring in foreign nationals because they're not on the system. So it makes complete sense, doesn't it? If anything was to go tits up, I mean pear shaped.
Yeah.
You know. One thing I do want to ask you, a bit of a cheek, but I do body language and statement analysis. I'm just wondering how important do you think it is for people to recognise body language and linguistics?
Yeah, I would say with statement analysis, it's very imperative, and there's a high degree of accuracy with it. Body language, it varies, and it varies also how traumatized someone is. I mean, some people, they're very composed, in adversity, and others go to pieces. And some people, they get frozen and they get triggered, and it might come across as an arrogance. I'll give you an example, right? So
John, think of it less from an interrogation point of view and more from when people feel like they're in a comfortable speaking position.
Well, I'll give an example because
that's fine.
People go on about the crossed arm post, but when you're dealing with survivors of abuse, they naturally do cradle themselves, some of them, right?
Yep.
The men will cradle themselves. The women tend to put their hands down by their privates a lot. And it's a natural protection thing. So it's and it's the same with interviewing. If you ever want the best out of an interview, have a desk and have like an adversarial thing, them on that side, you on this side. When I see interviews, and I've been on them, where they sit me on a couch with someone, perpendicular to me, I got to keep craning my neck around, and it's too open, and you don't get the best from someone. If you're going to take someone into a personal space, give them a barrier, somewhere where they can feel safe and they can cradle or they can hold that. Give them that little protection that a desk would give you. And this is one of the key things. There's a thing called ABE, Achieving Best Evidence. What is going to achieve the best evidence? And it's making that person feel safe and comfortable. And other people are very aggressive. They're naturally aggressive, but it doesn't mean that there's guilt there. So body language, and you could be sick as well, and you could be tired.
Subjective, isn't it? You've got to get a baseline as well with body language, and it's open to interpretation in each subject, isn't it?
And there's cultural differences as well,
Yes, absolutely.
And all that, but with the statement analysis, there really is a good science to that because it's done on the transcript. And you can sit there. I mean, I would do that quite a lot. I would sit there and I would listen to people's interviews. I'd watch them. And in the end, they actually are telling you what they're doing. And they are telling you their guilt in an instance. You've just got to know where to look. It is there. So I'd say statement analysis, body language, it's an indicator, but you couldn't base... And they're all opinion anyway. I mean, but they're a good starter, right?
The difference I see, the way I see it, is body language is open to interpretation, whereas statement analysis, you don't interpret the words, you just listen and you believe them, and you just say what you see.
Yeah.
With an interviewer, if you was to take a case on, and you then had to go and interview the witness. When it's a serious case, especially an SA case, the best person is someone who has no knowledge at all of what it is. And other people wanted to be briefed on it. No. The best one is you know nothing. You go in totally ignorant. That is the best way of doing it because you
100%.
So it's good. It's good to watch certain people, and it's the same in a court when someone is found guilty and they've done it, they tend to accept it. They're like, you send down someone who's innocent. Honestly, they go down screaming, you know. And it's I interviewed a guy once, and he did get charged, and he never did it, and it was an attempted murder of a child. And I wrote on the file, because there was a form we could fill out where we could actually pass information on to the judge. And I wrote to the judge, I said, this man never did it. I do not believe he did it. And he stood trial, and he didn't do it, and he was found not guilty. And afterwards, he told me he was covering for his girlfriend. But you could just tell by his demeanor, by everything. He was just being loyal, but he never did it. He never did it. Yeah, his girlfriend did, and it was quite obvious. And other people are accomplished liars. Some people are cultural liars. I sat down with a member of the travelling community once. I got invited to a meeting on a traveller site, and the guy was so open with me. He said, what you got to understand, John, the first thing I was taught by my father was how to shoplift, and I was taught to lie to you lot, the gorgers. That's what he called us, the gorgers. He said I was taught it was a cultural thing to lie. And he said, for some of us, I'm not casting any aspersions saying all travellers lie. I'm not saying that. You know, you be intelligent with what I'm saying here, but he was saying, you know, our law, it wasn't with you, it was with our own people, and if we had interaction with you, like, there's a good chance you'd get told a lie. You would get told a lie, you know. So there's that cultural thing. I worked for many years investigating passport deceptions, and that, you know, the two main groups that were doing it were either African or Jamaican, right? And the Jamaicans, it was because it was an organised crime element to come over on a false passport, involving back then.
You two just keep talking. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Back then it was the Yardie crime, but the other one was Nigerians. But when you interviewed a Jamaican, there's a good chance they were telling you the truth. But when we sat with a Nigerian suspect, there's every chance they were just lying straight through, just because it was a cultural thing to do, just to lie, because the police would torture them, and it was culturally built in as well, just to lie. And you rarely got to the truth, you rarely knew who they were, and you just knew for the next hour you were going to just be totally and utterly lied to.
So that's the beauty of statement analysis. So it will reveal the truth, even though they're lying bare to your face. And I love it. I think it's amazing. It really is. It's like a superpower.
But the other thing is, I mean, if you was to combine them two disciplines along with polygraphing, you know,
I don't put any stock in polygraph at all. The body language and the statement analysis will do me.
But if you was,
I don't need anything like that.
But the reason why the judicial doesn't do it is because it would almost eliminate the money made from the adversarial court system, because it would almost be an absolute. So people would just be going guilty. There'd be no money to be made.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So the system is built on that whole court game, you know, that the MVR, and there's huge money to be made. So they don't want that. They don't want people telling the truth. They never have done, never wanted to. It's you know.
No,
and again,
I've been in the position. I've been in the dock, mate. You know, I'm not proud of my past, but I'm trying to sort myself out now. So, but I've been in, and police have lied about me on the stand.
Yeah, look. One of the things I say
from me, but I've grown out of that now. But you know what I mean?
But it's again, one of the things I say is the first lesson the police teach you is how to lie. And any officer who turns around and says that they haven't bared false witness is a liar. Of course, me, I've never done it, but everyone else, they have. They've all done it. That's the first thing you're taught, is to lie. And it's a game, and that's how it is played. It's there was a fantastic documentary I watched about the border crossing between Afghanistan and Iran. I'm not sure whether it's Iran, but one of the neighbouring countries.
Right, yeah.
And they got this Afghani border official that's got 100% success rate in catching people smuggling opium. And they go out with him, And they said, how'd you do it? And he just initially talks to the fella and he knows straight away. And as he talks to them, he puts his hand on their heart, he looks them in the eye, and he just says, that man's lying. That man's lying. That man's lying.
Wow.
And I'll tell you an interesting one to watch. It was one of those prison where someone goes, I think it might have been that guy, Raphael Rowe. He goes into a prison and he spends time in different prisons around the world. And he's the one who claims to have been wrongfully stitched up for a murder. And he goes into one prison and a guy looks him in the eye and he sort of freaks him out. And he sort of, let's just say he contests this guy's innocence and he looks him in the eye and he tells him. And it really, you watch this presenter, it really shakes him because the guy looks him in the eye and says, I don't think you're telling the truth, mate. And, you know, so it's, but if you expect the system to tell the truth, it's not going to, it's going to lie.
Thanks, John.
Look, what you've got to look at is, even in our culture, it's a given, because when you get a car, you are insured, right? And you're insured to drive that car, and it will cover you for an accident. But when you have an accident, what do the insurance companies tell you to do? Never admit liability. Well, if you crashed into someone, surely it's your fault, and they tell you don't ever say that. Well, isn't that lying? I'm sorry, you know, I'm really sorry, it's my fault. They tell you don't say that, even though it was your fault. So it's even culturally acceptable in the legal industry to lie. And they actually aid and abet, counsel and procure you to commit perjury and pervert justice. Because they tell you not to admit liability.
Who's that ex-CIA? It's not Pamela Myers.
Hang on. Uber. I need to get your question wrapped up and move on, but I'll get you back.
Sorry, you got people waiting.
I do, mate. So
thanks, John.
but just
really great listening to you, mate.
Just hang
Thank
about,
you.
Uber, because once I get to the end of the queue, I'll bring you back in, mate.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Nice one, brother. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, John.
All right, we are take 2 with the wonderful Jane. How are you?
Hello.
How are you doing, Jane? Can you hear us?
No. I'm good. How are you?
We're good. Do you want to fire your question away for John?
Not really a question. I spoke to you before, if you remember. Do you know if there is any access regarding the Epstein list? Because I haven't watched any of this yet. Been sorting out the tech.
The Epstein list. I don't think so. I think it's just the same as before, where everyone's asking for it, but nobody's getting it.
Yeah, sorry. So just to make something clear, is that so? Sorry, there's a time delay. Let me mute my TV. That's it. I've muted the TV. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Right, I'm good. Basically, here's my story. I'm going to email you, John. I haven't done it yet because I need to make a new email.
I remember, yeah.
I did not know. I haven't watched this stream yet because I've been busy in the back, trying to sort out this phone thing. So, basically, my story is quite simple. A lot of things have been coming back to me in the recent years, and a lot of things have come back to me since we've lost Virginia. And I didn't even know what democide was then, until I heard it described. And
what's it called?
To me.
What's the term?
And I'm near the end of my life. Yeah. I've got
Jane. What's the term? Jane, can you hear us?
What was the term?
What was the term you're saying?
Democide.
What's that?
Democide.
Democide.
Demicide.
Oh, demicide. Okay.
What is that?
Demicide, where if you look it up, Sean said it was, basically farmicide or interference, in your life with government and malintent. So, ever since I gave my statement out, ever since my mum came out of her marriage to my father because she cheated on him with now King Charles's private policeman in his name, and I am going to name him. I'm sorry if that's not okay. Rude
Wait. Maybe you've got the wrong idea here, right?
Sorry.
Do you have any questions for John this evening? Anything that you want to email John concerning cases, any names and things like that? I think we should just keep under the level because it's the Sean Atwood channel that'll be liable for anything that's said.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's
all right.
So I can email you then, John,
Yeah,
can I?
Yeah, just email me and then we'll deal with it from there. It's probably not best to put yourself at risk or whatever on air.
I'm touching base with you. I'm touching base with you now in the DMs on.
Do it via there.
Yeah. Because what I'll do, Jane, is we'll get this done right for you, rather than you having to come and do it this way.
Yeah.
And then we can get stuff out in a way that's safe for you and all the rest of it. I can see you've been messaging me, so I do apologize. So I'm in contact with you now.
I'm sure you're inundated with messages. I don't see myself more important than anyone else.
No, do it through there, and we can have a private chat.
Anyway, thank you. I'll stay online, and I will watch this. I'll wait till you go. And I'm so sorry I didn't have an actual question.
No, you're okay, Jane. Jane, if anything, it's on brand for you. It's on brand for you, so don't worry. All right, Jane, thank you so much. All right. So we're going to bring in Pam next. Pam, are you there? You're live on the Sean Atwood channel. How are you?
Hi, Ron.
How are we doing, Pam? How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, you want a question for John or myself?
Yeah, it's just a question for John, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
What it is this, you know, when you were talking at the beginning about like some of the people that have been charged with things that they've not actually done. Yeah. Right. Okay. So what I wanted to know was what actually happens then. For example, if you know, if somebody gets charged with like an unaliving or something, and then they find out, and then they get put in prison, but then they find out that the guy's innocent, what actually happens?
So there's an appeal process. So they've got to apply within 28 days of being imprisoned for an appeal. Now, the appeal courts are judges that are going against the judgment of a fellow judge. So you've got to have some sort of stonking evidence that comes to light, or it might be evidence comes to light that the police have lied and it's an unsafe prosecution. So then it goes to the High Court, the appeal court, and then they decide whether it was safe to carry on. Now, an appeal can go two ways. Someone can put in for an appeal and actually get their sentence increased, which happened actually, I think, to Rolf Harris. I think it happened to him. He put in an appeal and got a bigger sentence, or it might have been Stuart Hall, one of them, or it could be that the case is kicked out. Whether or not there's a review that is conducted, if an allegation has been made of police corruption or malfeasance, and then that will go to the professional standards part of the police force, and they may well look into whether or not the police have committed perjury. Now what you've got to look at is that whenever there is a court hearing, people give evidence, and some tell the truth and some lie in every single trial. Now, it might be that the police have lied and stitched someone up, or that the person says they're not guilty when they know they've done it. So really, what should happen is that if the person is found guilty and they've claimed they're not guilty and they prove that they've lied, they should actually get done for perjury, lying under oath, but they never do. But the risk is always there. It has happened to a few police officers that they've been caught out, but you've got to look at the whole judicial process from being suspected of an offence, which will come from information. Then there's an investigation, and then the person is arrested and they're interrogated, and that what they say is offset against what a victim or a witness has said. and then that goes to the Crown prosecution, who adjudicate whether or not there's a good chance of this winning in a court. If it is, that person is then charged, and then it goes then to a magistrate's court. If it can be dealt with locally there, if not, if it's serious, the accused can either elect for a trial by jury or a trial by magistrate, or it could be too serious that the magistrate can't deal with it and they have to pass it over onto what they call committal, which then goes to a Crown court, and then a trial is set. The police give their evidence, they're cross-examined by the defence, and then the defendants give their evidence and they're cross-examined by the prosecution. And then the jury are given the facts of the case, and then they go away and decide, did the person do it beyond all reasonable doubt? If the answer is yes, they get convicted. If it's no, they don't, or it could be a hung jury and it goes in the benefit of the defendant.
Right. Okay, that was a lot of information.
It's not clear cut.
It's not straightforward. Yeah, it's not straightforward.
No,
but for example, you know, like just say if it is the police that have lied,
right?
So do they get charged with something? And if also do they get sacked?
Yeah, if it's not instantaneous.
For example, if they've basically said a person's done this and that person hasn't actually done it, kind of thing, and then they get found out that the policeman gets found out that they've lied, or the people that are in charge of it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, if it's been proven that they've lied, then it should be handed over to the professional standards, which are the police line of duty group that we see on the drama series, and then you know, they will then investigate it, and you know, it could be that the police officer is perverted the course of justice, in which case that person's in a lot of trouble. But what it usually is, it's not proven that the police have lied. It's proven that either the case isn't proven or the defendant doesn't win the case. So the police are always getting accused of lying, and the defendants always, you know, themselves getting accused of lying, and that's the game. That is the game. It's, you know, whoever you know does the best performance on the day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that you know, whether you like it or not, that's how it is. You know, and but, so to prosecute someone, there's a lot of effort goes into it. You know, but you've just got to convince the jury. Yeah. You know, and there's so many gangsters who have gone on these podcasts and on these TV programs, and they've boasted that they've got not guilty. They've done it, of course they've done it, but they acted up. They played a good role on the day. You know, they won an Oscar, and they got not guilty, but they did it. You know, but just the police couldn't prove it. Listen, there's a world of difference between proof and truth.
Yeah.
All right? So people look.
Yeah, it definitely is.
There's when you look at the lying aspect of it all, the police lying, it's a spectrum. You know, to what degree do they lie? Do they just make out they've seen someone try a car door handle when they haven't, but they know that person is an active criminal, and they just need to add that little, and it's called honourable corruption. Is it a bad thing? Well, I don't think so, but the law says it is, and you shouldn't do it. But of course it happens. It happens everywhere. It happens, you know, if you're in charge of a building site, when everyone's gone, you take some stuff home. Well, it's theft, but everyone does it. You know. So I think when fingers start getting pointed, that, you know, you've got to look at, they point both ways. You know, if you're totally and utterly clean, then good on you. But if you're not, well, you know, it goes on. It goes on everywhere. But then you've got organised corruption. You've got real organised stitch-ups. And of course, I've been at the centre of one of them. Does it go on? Oh, of course it goes on. Of course it goes on. And you know what? The system always wins. The system, and there's a former chief constable, a very, very brave man who stood up and exposed the nefarious activities of Ted Heath, our former prime minister, and his abuse of children. And he said to me once, he said, anyone who thinks they can take this government on and win is an effing idiot. And I would concur. I totally agree with that. You ain't, no one's going to, you might have a little victory, but you ain't beating the system. Ain't no one ever beat the system. They ain't. And if you're going against the state, you lose.
Yeah.
You lose. And it's as simple as that. I mean, I had a victory.
Yeah.
Did I win? I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But did it cost me a lot? Oh, dearly. Dearly. I suffered. I paid a high price, and I nearly paid a monumental price as well. So would I encourage anyone to do it? No way. Not unless you're prepared to see it through and lose everything. And if you think you're going to beat the system, it ain't going to happen. You ain't going to do it.
Well, look, thank you, Pat. That was a really good question. Can the mods please post
Thank you.
Can the mods?
Bye.
Can the mods? Thank you, Pam. Can the mods please post the Legion server Discord link in the side chat? Thank you very much, Callum. I appreciate that. And I just want to say, we have two public servers. We have the call-in server, which if you join the main server, you'll get a link for. And you can come and join this. Now we've got Lisa B, one of our mods, who is also the mother of many tiny dogs. She has a wonderful little dog charity, John, and is one of our mod team. Now, everyone in the side chat, we're going to be getting to your questions next in the side chat. Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you too, John?
I'm good. I'm very good, thanks.
Can you hear me okay? I'm actually outside with my dogs.
Yeah, we can hear you. Actually, I'll turn you up. Now we'll hear you better. There you go.
Okay. Okay. So, did John, did you ever look into my thing that I emailed you about? Speaking of dodgy cops.
That was to do with the case of
my dad.
The abuse that took place in the UK. John, I'll be honest with you. Since the last time I seen John, he's done a marathon and he's been all over the place. So you may not have gotten to it yet.
Can you elaborate it a bit more?
Yeah, I was. We had a discussion on the live. I can't remember. It was a good couple of weeks ago about looking into my case because I feel like the guy is trying to get out of being on the off the offenders registry, and he doesn't need to be off of it, and he's not a good person. He's very religious, which doesn't wash a hill of beans with me. I couldn't care less. The less I say about that, the better, because it probably will involve a lot of swear words. But he's the one I told you about that was done for abuse, went down for 9 years, only served 4.5. And you were going to look into it for me to see what the status was, to see if he's still on the registry and that he's, that somebody's keeping an eye on him.
What was his name?
I don't know if we can do names.
Right. Well, let me listen.
I emailed you the name, and you did respond to me, and I sent you a reply, but I didn't hear back after that.
Right. Look, I even forgot my own granddaughter's birthday this week, so I do apologize.
Yeah, John's making the same face that I make when people ask me about DMs.
Things. Look, I look into because I may have done some open source checks on it. I'll look because as soon as I see it, it will prompt me and I'll remember.
Yeah. But just spamming him, Lisa. Just be like, listen, John, I know you're on holiday.
The thing is with it, right?
I don't want to bother him if he's on holiday. Good grief, poor guy. He needs a break.
When you take, look, if we just go on about, he got 9 years, right? Right. The Home Office decrees that if you get 9 years, you will, unless the Home Secretary interferes with the case and lays a precedent down, you will serve half of that. So that is standard. That is standard. Now, once he's released, so under the provisions of the Sex Offenders Registry Act, so if they're convicted, cautioned, or serving a prison for what's called a Schedule 1 sexual offence, right? They are then permitted to sign on the Sex Offenders Register within the policing district where they reside within 14 days. Depending on what his offence was, depending on the duration he's on that register, and then depending on that duration, it will also there may also be certain conditions like no access to data storage devices, not to live near a school, contact witnesses, things like that. That might not be public information. That might be only information for the court and the probation service, right? Because we don't have that what they call it, Clare's law or what Sarah's law or whatever they've got in America, where they are obliged to put it on there. We don't. But what we do have is the open source. So these cases are reported. They have to be reported by the court reporting. But when it involves a child witness or it's a sensitive matter, that victim is legally entitled, unless they waiver it, to lifelong anonymity. And there are reporting restrictions. So you can only have 2 members of the press in the court. They have a constricted public gallery and things like that. So you don't tend to get the freedom of information on them people that you would say with a bank robber or something like that. It's a tricky one. Now, what should have happened is the Sorrow, which is a sex offending registry officer, if you were the main witness, informant and witness in the case, they should have updated you as to the movements of this individual and the risk that they may pose to you if they are released, and any concerns that you may have.
Well, the thing is, they've tried to get him off, or he's tried to get himself off the registry. The cheeky buggers sent me emails basically saying, oh, he'd like to get off the registry. Well, good luck, because it ain't happening. I'm not. I'm more worried because I live in the States. He lives in the UK. I'm not worried about myself. I worry about other little kids and people that are vulnerable. I don't care. I'm okay. I can, and even if he did come, he wouldn't mess with me anymore. I'm not even. There's no way he would be scared of me, honestly. But he,
was it an ex-policeman?
He's an ex-copper, yes.
Yes, I do remember. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I know. I remember now, and I have done some checks on him. Do it through the email, because I did look into it. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Was it a Northern force?
No, West Midlands.
West Midlands, yeah, well, that's fair enough, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm with you now. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I remember it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's a typical. He's a diagnosed by a psychologist, a diagnosed narcissistic sociopath. So he's, to me, in my opinion, he's a dangerous individual, and he's in his. What am I now? He's in his 70s. And I still think he has the potential to hurt.
Well, of course. I mean, there's the statistic of the PDF files offending. It's something like 80% offend within 48 hours of release. There's a horrific statistic of reoffending. Now, that might be accessing pornography or something like that, but it's got the highest reoffending rate of any criminal group. Yeah,
wow.
It's shocking because it just doesn't work. And what you have with that is that people go on about, steps to protect the public. And one of the, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there was a guy that was going on about chemical castration, but it's a nonsense, right? Because
it doesn't work.
That doesn't take away.
It doesn't get the idea out of their heads, but it's still that in their heads.
Exactly.
So chemical castration is really useless.
Yeah. Well, look, there's two elements to offending. There's what's called the actus reus and the mens res. Right. The actus reus, you have to have both elements in order to complete an offence, right? So it's Latin terminology, but the actus reus is the actual physical element to it. So for example, murder, you actually murder someone, you strangle them and kill them. Is it murder? No, because you have to combine it with the intent. Did that person intend to? If they did, you got it. If they didn't, you haven't. But with the S offenders and the PDF files, it's getting rid of that. That mens res, and unless there is intense therapy that addresses that broken child, because most of them have been through the cycle of abuse themselves, they just haven't broken it, they've continued it.
and I agree with that.
Which is an awful statistic. You know, it's 3 generations before it can actually be weaned out the system, and you know that they haven't had that therapy for that healing, and that there is a therapist who has got. I think she's got something like a 92% success rate in serious child murderers and child offending. But she said there is that small percentage that are evil, and no matter what therapy you put them through, they are evil. But the others, she can do it. And here's an example she gave me. So she gets a guy into therapy. He gets sent to her for therapy, and he's a convicted rapist. You know.
Well done, John. Well done.
Yeah.
You know, we get that. But he did it to a child. He did it to an 8-year-old girl, or maybe younger. I think he was a bit younger. And he was a bus driver. And she said he was a really big black guy. He was about 6'5" or something like that. Anyway, she said a big, imposing, strong guy. And she's a middle-aged woman, just average build. And she says to him, "Can you lower yourself down to my level?" So he crouches down to her level, and she goes, "Go lower, go lower, go lower." And in the end, he puts her head at the same level as her groin. And then she says to him, "Undo my trousers." And he's like, what? And she says, "Undo my trousers." And he goes into a panic, right? He starts getting triggered and traumatized. And she screams at him, "You will do as I tell you. You will undo my trousers now." And he melts. He can't do it. He starts crying. And she said, "So you expect a 5-year-old to say no, do you? When you can even say no as a big, grown, strong guy that you are, yet you expect a 5-year-old to say." And it was all to do with the excuse they come that the child could have said no. And she reverses the psychology, and she goes into court and she gives this testimony, and it horrifies the court, but they get her rationale. And she basically bullies them like they bullied their victim, and she makes them understand that it's not for the child to say no. A child should never say no. It's for the adult to say no. It's not the onus on the child. And what the law's done, and a lot of these prevent campaigns of child protection, it's just say no, just say no. And she said these campaigns, these government campaigns, have been written by perverts and PDF files. And she said, I know straight away, whenever they put the responsibility on the victim, you know it's been written by a pervert. It should never be the victim's responsibility. And, you know, it's getting into that mentality and that mindset, these people. But I agree with you. I think that unless they've been certified by a professional to say that there is no risk after intense therapy, and they've proven it, that they will continue to be a risk, even if they don't reoffend. They continue to be a risk.
And the irony is I have evidence from 2 years ago of him messing around with another family member. Thankfully, not underage; it was an adult. But I was like, "What the heck is wrong with? What's wrong with you?"
Some people can't
in what world is that right? Normal.
I know, but in their world it is. They justify it. But they'll try anything. They call them. They don't say that they're heterosexual. They're not bisexual. They're not homosexual. They're what they call trisexual. Anything will be game for them if they can't get the demographic they want. They will try anything, and it's a very twisted, weird logic with these people. It's not like normal criminality.
I mean, I'm just glad I turned out normal, because I don't
awesome,
understand.
Lisa. You're awesome.
I mean, it's like I ask myself the same question, or I want to ask these people why. Why do you do what you do? Because none of you can give me the straight answer. I even asked him one time. I was like, "Why?"
Well, they do
never had a straight answer.
They do it because they can, because they want to.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. They want to do it, so they do it. Well, look, we all have a choice. We can say no. For some people that have been in that cycle of abuse, it might be more difficult because of cognitive distortion and trauma and everything else, and learned behavior, all these terrible things that go on to that wounded child, it's a lot harder maybe for them to say no. And others, they're overprotective because they know the damage it does. But we still have that choice to say no. And they choose to do it. They choose to do it. And this is what I was saying, that they're putting the onus, and even their defense team, well, the victim could have said no. You know, whereas even this big grown man was even frightened to say no to a small woman, yet he expected a little child to say no to him, to stand up and say no to him.
Amazing.
You know, it's
amazing.
And this is their mindset, and this is what we that there was a therapy session that I witnessed once, and they get 2 PDF files sat down on a chair, right? And they remove one chair, and the other one's job is to convince the one sat down that he deserves a chair and he should stand up and give it to him. And it starts off, and it basically outlines a grooming process. And it starts off, oh, look, stand up, let's see how tall you are, and all these tricks. And then it comes more coercive. If, you know, a bribery, if I give you this cigarette, will you stand up? And of course, the guy's brief is not to stand up. And because the acquiescence isn't there, in a heartbeat, this monster comes out, and they have to have security there to stop them attacking the guy sat down. Because, like I said, many times when I interviewed the mother of that child murderer, Baby P, and whilst it was all going her way in the interview, she was sweet and cute and everything with me. But the moment it didn't go the way she wanted, in a heartbeat she turned. And this is what they do with the victims. Because it's not a monster that grooms a kid. It's a nice person that does it. You know, like a man when he's chatting up a woman, he tells her everything she wants to hear. But he doesn't mean it. He just wants to do what he wants to do to her. He doesn't care.
Savage.
And that's how it is with the groomers. It's exactly the same mindset. I want to do this, and I will get it.
Completely predatory.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, look, Lisa, I'm sure John will fire your email back to you and everything like that. Thanks for joining us. If there's anything else you want to throw in, let me know. I can circle back to you later, but I've got side chat questions I need to get to. But Lisa, thank you so much. Thank you. How awesome is the call-in function, John?
It's good, isn't it?
It's great. It's like, I keep saying it's 1985 technology landing in 2025. So we've had quite a few questions in the side chat. Now, interesting. This was the first one that I saved. This was from Amy. And she talks about another case that we also spoke about, which was the Michael Barrymore case. Now, John told me things about this case that I don't know if they were not mentioned in the main news, or if I just didn't comprehend them because I was younger. But this case is another one that when John takes you through it, it's hard to understand.
That was Stuart Lubbock. Now, Terry Lubbock was Stuart Lubbock's dad. And Terry become a really nice friend to me. I got to know Terry because we had a mutual friend, and I spent many hours talking to Terry. Unfortunately, he died, and it was just after the lockdown, and I was forbidden from visiting him on a couple of occasions because he was in an old people's home, and he never stopped fighting for justice. But you know, when you look again, you've got to look at the same people crop up. You've got to look at who was the coroner, and the coroner. I can't remember his name. It will come to me. It's on the tip of my tongue. But the coroner cropped up quite a few times in suspicious decision making, and one was on a young man that was found hanging in a mental institution in that part of Essex. But he had horrific sexual injuries prior to his hanging, and this coroner put it down to suicide. There was another death of a guy who was a very wealthy businessman who was found with the most horrific occultic injuries. He had his tongue cut out and all sorts. And again, the same coroner put it down to suicide. So you've got to look at the officers that were involved in it. They were the same officers that were involved in the alleged cover-up of this young lad that was hanging. We see the same pattern and the same people all the time. There was the crime scene.
John, he's got a freaking YouTube channel, mate.
Who's Barrymore? Yeah, and a TikTok site and everything else.
2 years ago.
Yeah. He's a twisted liar, in my opinion.
Interesting.
A very weird man, but he the crime scene. There was Barrymore's manager was allowed to go and recover items and take them away whilst it was an active crime scene, and they weren't even exhibited. I mean, it's a massive no-no from the start. There was rumours that the body wasn't even in the pool; it was chucked in the
John,
pool.
well, look, if there was ever a case that we've covered, if you want to reopen the lid, he works in our office building, bro. YouTube is our office building. If Michael Barrymore's got a channel, then we as creators can quite happily call him out and ask him if he would like to come on and answer some questions. And then we're doing our due diligence by asking him if he'd like to comment on what we're saying. But if this guy's mulling about on YouTube and everything you're saying is true, that ain't the one, bro. That ain't the one. And I just want to say, somebody else on YouTube is about to find out that ain't the one. We've got one of the individuals involved in the case that we've got a conviction and a sentencing on Wednesday to this huge PDF file human transportation case I've been working on for 4 years. Turns out one of the monsters is on YouTube and thinks he's going to be a van life vlogger. Well, you're all going to get to meet him this week, and by Jove, is it going to ruin his day? Is there anything better, John, than ruining the day of a little scallywag? Is there anything better?
Well, ruining their life.
Not including convictions. Out with the court system. You know what I'm saying? So
no, it's great when they finally get convicted and you've put all the hard work in and they've tried everything they could. I mean, I sent down a guy for abusing his own children and his wife, and he tried every trick he could to sort of disrupt the proceedings, and it was a hard-fought victory, but we got it in the end. But they make you work for their money. These people don't give up. They never give up because they believe they're right. They believe they have the right to do this. They're twisted individuals. There's nothing honourable about them at all. Yet they walk among us, and more so in the entertainment industry. It's just totally awash with them, and they just need outing. And I think the BBC needs to close them down.
Like we can't be letting this. We can't be letting this happen.
There's a book called Not All White, and it was written by a solicitor and co-authored with Terry Lubbock. And I'll happily do a program on the content of that book and the inconsistencies and just the bizarreness of the investigation.
What we need to do is we need to market our next video as if we're marketing it to 18 to 25-year-olds on TikTok and YouTube who've never heard of Michael Barrymore. Okay, we need to market it that way because this is what he's got 3.6 million followers on TikTok. Okay,
they won't accept that he's done it because it's called idolatry.
Doesn't matter. All we need to do is remind the public and educate this new. Do you understand how savage the 16 to 30-year-old demographic on TikTok is for when people cause trouble or there's like PDF files? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, and I guarantee you, there's a lot of people who are engaging with his content that don't know.
I can remember turning up at a meeting once. It was a public media meeting, and it was to do with survivors of child abuse. And there was a police officer who's got a very dubious past was there, and I some information that he was actually a paedophile himself, and I walked into this room where he was already present, and I walked in with probably one of the hardest anti-child abuse campaigners there is, a guy called Bill Maloney, a real little tough Jack Russell of a man. And when this guy saw us, he actually climbed over 3 rows of chairs and ran out the room, and he was in his 60s. he was straight out there. He didn't want, you know, had Bill got hold of him, it would have been a different matter. But you know, so they've got front. I mean, I was approached the other day by a former police sergeant who wants me to help him with his campaign and against police corruption and everything else, and he's telling me how brilliant he was, and he wants to help with the you know, anti-child abuse campaigning, and he, you know, he knows all these people, and he knows people have been in the SAS and all this rubbish. And when I went and did some research on him, I contacted an old colleague of his who's a mutual friend of mine, and this guy said to me, Google his name, John. As soon as I Googled his name, this guy had served 2 prison sentences for downloading child you know, and was put on the PDF file register for 12 years, and his 12 years had just expired. That's why he's reaching out, and he's trying to get himself involved with anti-child abuse things, and he's a convicted PDF file and an ex-copper, you know. And the front of these people, they have no shame.
Yeah. Another question from Amy here about Amanda Knox. Do you think Amanda Knox is really innocent over Meredith Kircher's murder? Nobody was really done in the end. You know that case, John?
Yeah, it was a weird thing, and she was a weird woman, Amanda Knox, as well. She's yeah, she ended up arrested in Italy, didn't she? But there was all sorts of weird.
It was a weird one, yeah.
Stuff going. Yeah, it was big in
I
its
remember
day,
that
but
case.
it was nothing I really took an interest in, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it was a while ago too, but it's one of those interesting ones that it's funny how some fizzle out.
Well, the thing is, Amanda Knox had an appeal because she was an attractive girl, so it always puts another edge to it. You know, and people take more interest in it. It's really strange, isn't it, when someone is attractive, how the public tries to see him as innocent.
Can I just
happily stigmatise someone who's ugly and odd looking?
Can I?
You know, but if you're good looking, you can't possibly commit a crime.
Right. Can I ask, is Ronnie P still in the side chat? Ronnie P, if you're in the side chat, can you just type a bunch of ones or something so I can see it? Because you asked a question earlier that I can't mention any of the names to in it, and don't repeat the question, but I can give you an answer directly to you because you'll know the question you asked and the names that are in it. I just can't do it for the whole chat. So if you're still here, Ronnie, let me know. We'll find out a minute if Ronnie P is still here. I don't think she is, sadly. Yeah, Ronnie spelled like that, Bailey. I don't think she is. Never mind. Okay. I'll move on to the next question anyway. If she does turn out to be here, I will address it. Right. Okay. So what's it about? I think that's all the questions really that cover the things that we're talking about tonight, John. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab Uber one more time because he's always got something to bloomin' throw at us as our resident mascot for the call-ins. Uber, you there, mate? Oh, wait, no, because Uber, you there, bro?
I am, yes, mate.
Right, so we're getting towards the end of the show, and I just wanted to throw some questions to John, and I just wanted you to be here about Victoria. Yeah. So, John, the Victoria Giuffre, the lady that unalived herself apparently in the Epstein case, have you been following it at all? Have you seen anything to do with it, John, or are you coming into it fairly cold?
No, I've seen it. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, and how the public can't draw an inference on that, you know, is amazing.
Have you seen the statements from her father?
No, please tell me.
He went on Piers Morgan. John, honestly, if you've got time, I'll send you a link to this Piers Morgan interview. Lady, what the fuck's what's the hell's her name, John, Uber?
What the fuck?
Lady Victoria Harvey goes on Piers Morgan, and when she's asked, who do you think was behind framing Andrew? She says Israel. Girl is on fire. for it looks like a psycho ex-girlfriend, right? Trying to defend this person she's besotted with. Her father, Virginia's father's brought on as a surprise guest, and the first thing he says is, someone got to her. She had plans. She had all these plans, all the rest of it. I just wanted to ask you, John, right? Because a lot of people, they're beginning to sort of open their eyes. We've covered this quite extensively. There's Ronnie. Sorry, everybody. So, Ronnie, you asked a question earlier, and it started off with, do you think that Jill will out someone? Do not say the name of the person. Confirm that you know the name of the person in the question. You asked if Jill is going to out someone. So don't put the person...
What was she going to?
No. Don't worry about this, John. We cannot publicly answer this, but I
think she had information on a well-known singer. That's why.
Well, do you know? I need you to not say any more, okay? Because it's very much in tune with what that question was.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, the singer that you mentioned, I've got it on very, very good knowledge. Actually, hang on. We can't talk about it now. We can't. There's too much speculation on the side. Right. Too much speculation on the sort. Tony G spoiled it for everyone. Okay, Tony G spoiled it for everyone. I just want to point that out. Sorry, Tony, but you spoiled it for everyone. But I'm only busting your chops. But yeah, we'll talk about that another time. There may be something coming up this year that's going to upset a lot of people. Also, Tony, I'm only kidding. You didn't really spoil it, mate. Big shout out, Tony G. Okay, so we've followed this whole thing, John. And this all stems from a social media post where apparently she was hit at 100 kilometers by a bus and then driven to hospital and all of this. I want to tell you, John, through my own investigation, that I believe she disappeared months ago, probably October last year. And everyone that's had contact with her since then it's been through digital means, whether it's texts or DMs. I think all of this has been orchestrated as a message right before the Diddy case to anyone who would ever dare try and take any more of the elites. I think her father was not part of any of this. I think that John, how many times have the police gone to an unaliving of someone and then taken out boxes and boxes of evidence, other than the weapon, maybe like the thing they unalived themselves with? If there's no suspicion,
if it's an S, no, it's
funny that, mate, because there was boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff taken out of Virginia's.
Well, you've only got to look at the MI6 operative who was found zipped up in a suitcase, and
don't worry about
he did it to himself. I mean,
don't worry about the guy in the suitcase. Worry about this. Lady of Victoria Harvey goes on Piers Morgan and is now trying to disprove with evidence that the picture of her and Prince Andrew that broke this case is a complete forgery. She's protecting the man who forged it. Apparently it was an Israeli guy. And let me just put it to you like this. I called this, John. What better way of destroying someone's legacy than making them look crazy before they unalive themselves? And then you have a so-called reputable elite socialite in Lady Harvey coming on and waving about this false evidence. She's went to Epstein's house last year and measured everything, and it couldn't possibly. I did a live stream where I took all her evidence and debunked it all in Photoshop Live.
But what you've got to look at is who benefits. Does this Lady Harvey benefit from doing it? Well, we don't know. Maybe she does. Maybe there's a financial incentive. Maybe there's a connection. That,
obviously.
The money and see who benefits. And it becomes quite obvious then, why would you do this? And what's the connection? And sometimes it's like I was saying in it, they do protest too much,
Right.
It becomes suspicious,
So
doesn't it?
You need to watch it. Like, you need to watch this interview. She turns around to some well-respected journalist and is
they've done it to the young survivors of the Dolphin Square and the Elm Guest House. They're liars. They're out for money. They just want to ruin. I had a meeting with the Bishop for London, Cardinal, what was his name? Paul McAleen, and he was berated by the ICSA inquiry for allegations of covering up for priests that have been paedophiles and things like that. So he really was a subject to a lot of cross-examination on the inquiry. But I had a meeting with him regarding what is the spiritual leaders for the Catholic faith doing to protect children. And he turned around to me in this meeting and blamed the victims, right, of Ted Heath for destroying a good man's reputation. Victim blaming, it's cognitive distortion. But this is what they do to all of us. They turn around and say they're deluded. That one of the things the police do is they say, "Oh, that officer's a nutcase. He's an alcoholic, or she's an alcoholic, and they're just disgruntled, and they're this." And of course, that's what they're going to. It's a dirty tricks campaign. It's a dirty game, and the stakes are very, very high. And it stinks. It stinks to high heaven what happened to this girl, but it was predictable, wasn't it? That you can't take on the system, and when you can't do it, it's going to end in your downfall, and that's what will happen. And you know what? The brave people that do stand up. She's a brave woman, and she'd pay for it with her life, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because I think there's more to come out, and it just makes the royal family, Andrew, and that just look even more dirty, in my opinion. And if the local elections are anything to go by, the two-party political state in this country is finished. And I think the same goes for the royal family. I think they're finished. Yeah. I don't think anyone cares for them anymore.
Yeah. Scott H has asked a random question about what does Rook stand for. So when I made up the name Rook, I done a search for what made powerful brands accessible, and all of them had 2 O's in them, right? Google, Facebook, all these kind of things. And I went with Rook because any more than 4 letters, and I find it hard to remember things. And Rook turns out to be a type of little crow as well, which was just another weird coincidence of crows in my life. So it's a mashup name. It didn't really mean anything, but it was built to be recognizable and stick in people's hands. So
and when the Rooks leave the Tower of London, then the monarchy falls.
Yeah, John, I'm obsessed with crows, right? You've heard me being obsessed with crows, right? So how weird is this? Dan got me this pendant for my birthday, and on it is the word Corbin, Korbbnn. So phonetically, the word Corbin.
Right.
And Corbin, spelled Korbin, is the spiritual term for a crow.
Oh, well, there you go.
And the word Corbin on this pendant is the first letter of each of my children's name that spell out Corbin.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's the equivalent of you just realizing all of your kids' first names spell out Jesus. Okay, that's how mad it is, without you realizing. It's bonkers.
Well, there's no such thing as a coincidence, is there?
I've got little Bodie Wren, that's my son, and I've got Nova Raven. Those are the 2 that have the Raven signets in my family. But look, everybody, Ron, for once, has a lot of editing to get ready for Wednesday. There is a massive content drop that is happening this week that coincides with a gentleman's sentencing, and that gentleman is Kyle Kernigan. And this week, you're going to see the first part of a series called How Could They? Dana Foley's final chapter in her story, where she's seeking justice from the monsters that escaped persecution when she took her mother, her stepfather, and various other horrific members of a large PDF file ring in Edinburgh back when she was 17 years old, after enduring daily abuse from the age of 5. I've never heard in an interview a survivor tell me that her abuse was so common that she'd get up on Christmas Day, open her presents, and get on with being abused. When she went to her friends' houses, she couldn't understand why mummy's friends at her friend's house weren't coming in and abusing her. It was the norm for this girl. And when you understand what true brainwashing and terror is, try and understand the concept of putting your own mother in prison, and then the day that she's sentenced, your abuse starts up for another 20 years at the hands of the man that your own mother refused to testify against so that he could walk free. The final betrayal from that woman.
Do you know, I got sort of attacked by some sort of I don't know, pro-satanic group once, because I said, look, they should show a child P film, right? And I'll show you why. Because I don't think people fully understand the horrors that these survivors have to endure. And I said, if they was to show one of these horrific child P films, I reckon there wouldn't be a sane-minded individual in the United Kingdom that wouldn't want hanging brought back as punishment for this sort of offending. Because the problem is, people don't have these conversations that we're having. They don't want to envisage what goes on, what some of these poor kids have to endure. They block it from their minds. And of course, the survivors understand, and the perverts relish it. But the average people, the real decision makers in this country that can really, the liberal-minded, that if they really knew that what the victims and survivors have gone through, it would turn the tables in the favour of us anti-child abuse campaigns.
Yeah, it shouldn't take YouTubers, right, for special, what the hell do you call it when you put a unit together for a case in the police? A special unit? Squad. Yes, special squad, right? Or squad. So 3 different squads had to be put together over the time that Dana's trying to get justice. Okay, the second version of justice, not the original justice. And it's not until we started rattling cages and kicking up fuss that a team was put together where things started to happen, you know? But even then, all of the convictions we're looking at are convictions that are against other people. Some of them, if they all get charged for Dana's charges, we're looking at serious RICO.
There's a film called Unrepentant, and it's about a pastor, a minister, a Church of England minister in Canada called Kevin Annett, and he was given this congregation, this area to run his church and do his preaching from, and he found out it was on old reservation grounds, but why weren't there any indigenous population attending his church? So he went out amongst the Indians, the Cherokee type people, and said, why don't you come to church? And they started telling him, well, you know, do you know what we went through? And then they turned around and disclosed what the church had done. It was basically a genocide. It was a perverted genocide against these children, and it's horrific what these native Indians went through. And of course, many of them are now mentally ill and alcoholics, and they can just denigrate them, say, oh, they're just like the Aborigines, they're just drunken nutcases. But then when you realise what they've been through, and it was sanctioned by the British government, and but Kevin Annett, he put this video together, and they sacked him and tried to imprison him for telling the truth. So I'm behind anyone who speaks out, but there's a massive price to pay. But it's for the public to wake up and realise that this does go on. It is real. They're not making it up. These survivors are not making it up.
No. And I tell you what, John, I just want to say now, right? And this will be repeated on Wednesday. Anyone who is a survivor, a victim, a witness, anyone who's involved in this case, we're creating a network of individuals for you to be able to come forward with your stories, get assistance, whatever it is we can do. Sadly, John will be getting roped into it when he's back. Where the hell are you going, John?
Bosnia. Medjugorje in Bosnia.
He's basically going on what was it when the religious people go on those big walks?
Yeah, a pilgrimage.
Yeah. He's going on a modern pilgrimage.
And do you know what it is? I'm not a Catholic. I'm a born again Christian, but the Catholic Church have treated me to a pilgrimage to Medjugorje for my efforts in exposing SRA, which I think is incredibly kind of them. So
that is incredibly. There's a certain under element of ironicness there, John, but I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. I was just about to say something. My brain's deleted it. You were talking about pilgrimage, Catholic Church. No, right. How mad is this? I seen this on a short the other day. You know how Jesus apparently his name's Yeshua, right?
Yeshua,
yeah, and it's 4 letters it's spelt with, right? And those 4 letters don't really make up the word. It's a sound. Now, it was interesting because the guy was talking about how you can only say it when you breathe, right? Where you're going.
All right, exhaling.
And he goes on and he talks about how the first thing you say when you're born is the name of your Lord and Savior. And the last thing you say is the name of your Lord and Savior. And I was like, how cool was that? I was like, John's going to love that. You know what I'm saying? He's going to love that. Because I've seen lots of people spell Yeshua, like, for example, how Amy spelled it. But apparently that's not.
No, it was a while. Yeah, apparently his real name was Yeshua HaMashiach. That was his
something like that.
Second name.
But I had to tell you, I thought that one was cool. The whole.
Yeah. It's.
You'll love that, John.
Yeah.
You will love that.
There's on a helicopter. There's a nut that goes on top of the rotor.
Right.
It's called the Jesus bolt, and if that fails, everyone dies. So it's the most important.
Yeah. Holy Jesus Christ, Uber! I forgot we were still here. Jesus, mate.
Yeah, they call it the Jesus nut because they say if it fails, the only person who's going to save you is Jesus.
Oh, Uber, I'm so sorry, mate. I'm so sorry.
Oh man, I
totally forgot.
John. I'm sitting back listening, bro. It's good.
I totally forgot you were here, and literally, a little bit of pee just came out. I'm not going to lie, like that was scary. You know what I mean? All right. Well, there we go. Well, listen. Ron is going to get on with his editing. He's going to have this out on his channel on Wednesday. Then we've got a very special interview with Dana's husband coming up on the Sean Atwood channel. It will be a pre-recorded live show. So I'll be live, but the interview will be pre-recorded. There'll be a lot of bleeps and redacted things in episode 1 because there's ongoing cases. Well, listen, Scott, because Jesus isn't my Lord. Okay, Jesus isn't my Lord. I totally believe that Jesus. I believe in all the gods. They all exist, but my gods are very different from your gods. So, and I'm totally cool with it. You guys are into the new kid on the block. You know what I'm saying? The new kid, and I'm okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Listen, there's worse people to worship than a long-haired groovy carpenter. All right, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, dude, no, John, I need to more Christian nerding out here. Did you hear the story of the guy that stabbed Jesus in the side? The guy with the spear?
Yeah, the Roman soldier, yeah. He repented.
And how he was going blind, but then he never went blind because I think some of Jesus' blood went in his eyes or something like that.
The water fell on him, wasn't it? It was a water.
Yeah, something like that. And then he left the army and just went about the place preaching about Jesus. And then the Romans pulled his eyes out. And then he went about still preaching Jesus. So then they cut his tongue out. And then it was God speaking through him in a different voice.
Well, you've only got to read, about Paul the Apostle, what he went through. And
we all know Paul the Apostle. I'm talking about the lesser-known Stabby Jenkins, who ended up. I just think it's awesome. Some of the old school. Do you know what? As well, it's for me. I'm not about Christianity, Catholicism, any of it. Jesus is a cool guy, right? Jesus is a cool guy. And there's so many people that renounce Christianity and all of the traditional Jesus crew representative groups and just focus on Jesus. And it's fascinating. Yeah. It's great.
Well, that's what I've done. I've renounced organized religion and worshipped the man that is Jesus Christ. The man.
Yeah, man. Groovy guy. So groovy carpenter, man. I tell you what, though, I know for a fact that when he done that thing with the fishes and the loaves, man was so primitive that he told everyone to turn around. He was like, okay, now listen, I'm going to do this. Now everyone turn around. And then they all turn around. And you've seen the South Park clip. And he just piles it all up from under the table. And then they all turn around and they're like, whoa! I'm just saying there's a good chance that's what happened, and I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying.
It's interesting because the Pope Malachi's prophecy, the 1100-year-old prophecy that the Petro Romanus, which was Pope Francis, who's just died, was the last pope. And so it'd be interesting to see what the Vatican does now, because that's meant to be the last pope.
I'm very sorry, but he was a long-haired groovy guy. Right? I understand that you might believe in him, and I'm definitely not being disrespectful. I'm just that's just how I interpret it. He's a pretty cool guy. You know what I'm saying? He was also very groovy. I'm just saying.
He was the hardest man who ever lived. He was
don't know about that.
Warrior.
I don't know about that. Right? Oh, John. Right. So I've met this demon hunter, right? And she has seen religious deities that have come forth when she's done like exorcisms of these demons. She does it all in a spiritual realm. I've got one of her paintings where when she was 8, she used to, no, that's 2 different people. That's Sky Spirit and somebody else. Sky Spirit, I will tell you about later. But this demon hunter, she goes into this trance and she can see the demon, and she's seen religious deities come forward and help her. One of them was the big Indian, the big Indian goddess with all the arms, Ishnar.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that that she's seen the man himself, right, come and take care of a demon. And I asked her the different ways the different gods would sort of take care of them, if you know what I mean. And Jesus is just the guy that puts their hand on them.
We were trying to put a documentary together about what different beliefs deal with in respect to deliverance and exorcisms, and we met with we interviewed the oldest exorcist in the UK. It was a guy who was based in Luton, and it was fascinating. He was 85. He was still doing exorcisms, and he was like, there was only 2 in London when he started, and he got asked to do it. But then we tried to contact different religious groups. There was they call him a Rakai, was a Muslim fellow who offered to be interviewed, but that never happened. And we tried to contact the Sikh religion and the Hindu religion to see how they deal with it. And we're just going to put like a little documentary together on like exorcism and deliverance, but it never happened. But the Catholic priest was a really, really interesting guy.
I'm actually launching a new website just for hardcore Christians this year, where for like $10 a month, I will contact all of your non-Christian friends when the rapture happens. You get taken up to heaven and we've all got to reign in hell here. I'll contact everyone with a smug email from you saying, ha, you all should have believed. I'll also cancel all your Netflix and things like that for you. $10 a month. I guarantee you, John, that's what I'm going to retire on. That website. That website there.
The way things are going, the rapture could be happening imminently, couldn't it?
Do you know how I know this will work? Because 250,000 Americans pay $49 a month for alien abduction insurance. Okay, that's how I know this. Do you know what 250,000 times £9 a month is? Because I don't, but I'll tell you in a second.
I did meet with a guy called Nick Pope, who was the intelligence services. What's that? GCHQ's alien intercept investigator, and he said, there's not many pilots that don't have reports.
And that's £30 million a year. £30 million a year.
Alien abduction insurance, yeah.
Yeah, are you going in on? You can be the religious poster child for this. Okay, you can be like, my brothers and sisters, come with me on Rapture Day. Let's rub it in the faces of these smugs, infidels.
I think there's an alien church in Los Angeles, isn't there? There's actual.
Listen, mate. All I'm saying is, this is going to. In the lower southern states, this is going to be. This is going to kick off this brand. But look, I just want to say to Uber, Uber, you have been playing the very respectful, quiet individual. I really do appreciate it. Almost to the point where you killed me. I don't want to end the show without giving you at least a good 10 or 12 minutes to throw anything at John or say anything. If you've got anything you want to put out there, mate.
Thank you.
Welcome.
John. So, with regards to the police force, I mean, now we know enough about behaviour and linguistics and stuff like that, do you think they could at least come up with a way of weeding out these wrong uns within the police force?
They don't want it. They don't want to, John. It's simple. Don't lie to him. Don't give him some orchestrated pitch. Just tell him they don't want to. They don't want to. If they did, John would have been held to a high standard.
I agree. So what's happened is that an ex-colleague contacted me and he said, look, 80% of those that joined between this certain period of time, which is in recent years, they didn't bother verifying the vetting details. So 8 out of 10 of them could have convictions, could be PDF files. They just didn't bother. Now, whether that's to satisfy some sort of diversity quota, I don't know. But they've been found out now, so they're sort of trying to backtrack, and they've made a statement saying that if we find out someone has gained what they call a pecuniary advantage and lied, they're going to get instantly sacked, which I don't think is going to happen. But bottom level is they just didn't bother. Now when you go for specialist posts to do with abuse, you get psychometrically tested, and it's quite good. It's quite accurate, and it weeds you out. Firstly, they want to know if you've been a survivor of abuse yourself, and if you have, you're less likely to make a fair decision. So you tend to fail. You're not allowed on the units, and also if you've got a propensity to be a PDF file, the testing will highlight that, and of course you will fail it. So and on top of that, with certain jobs, you go through high level vetting, and so it will go through social media. It will see if you're involved in things like swinging and all this, and you will fail the vetting and not get these jobs. So on certain units, it is very, very well protected, and also when it comes to the judicial process. So if you've got an abuse case, the barristers have to be vetted. They have to be psychometrically tested to make sure that they are mentally able to cope with it, because it is traumatic and horrific.
It is, yeah, it's horrible.
When we look at, for example, things in respect to Wayne Couzens and David Carrick, they were in units that were outside of this psychometric testing and the vetting. So
shouldn't they have it for the police force in general? I mean,
yes.
Okay. Well, let me.
It should be done.
Let me throw in let me throw in a bit of a random code here. We're talking like the police force has got free pick of everyone in the UK. We're talking about a generation where we're going to see lack of doctors, lack of this, lack of that we've never seen before, because everyone wants to be online. Do you think that the police force are in the age of slim pickings?
Well, I just think they're screwed. I think they've just reversed all the integrity that they once had. They just thrown it away. And see, the problem is you're going to get this break in continuity of tradecraft. So where things are passed down, like a blacksmith, the father will pass it down to the son. If one of them dies, them skills die with them. And we've seen this with policing. We've seen officers leaving en masse because they're disgruntled. They're fed up with the internal politics. They're just fed up with the wokeness of it all. And then you've got the people like me that have retired. And then they then start electing to have people join that have got degrees that are graduates and not take from the common stock, which is dangerous in itself. And on top of that, this accelerated promotion that they've got, whereas before you had to do 2 years on the street, and now you can go straight in at superintendent level. And my ex-colleague told me that there was a major crime scene, and it was a serious S offence, which was the R word, and the superintendent turned up, who was a newly appointed woman graduate, found it too distressing. And so she went home and went sick. I mean, we're screwed, aren't we? It's it's like having, the major in charge of the squadron in the army who doesn't like blood and doesn't like fighting. It's screwed.
The whole criminal justice system is broken, though, John. And we know this. I know we're from opposite ends of the spectrum, but we both know that the criminal justice system is in complete disarray. But
look, if we look at our laws, we've got the best laws in the world. We've got some brilliant. We don't need new laws. We need the right people to enact them. And if people break the laws, there needs to be consequence. And what they should do is when they had the reforms in the 1970s, it was I can't remember the commissioner. Is it Newman? Anyway, one of the commissioners, he turned around and said, look, was it Robert Newman, or it was a minister or something? He turned around and said, in order to have an uncorrupted police force, we need to look after them, which is what El Salvador has done. El Salvador had the most corrupt, dysfunctional, violent police force in the world. It's now got one of the best police forces because it's trained its officers properly, it's housed them, and it's well paid them, and it's managed them, and it's managed their welfare, which is what the UK police used to do. It's gone. It's finished.
Let me, Ron's doing. Let me just do something here. So, can you guys put a 1 in the side chat if you guys would like another grooming gang panel show? We done one a couple of weeks ago. It was really successful. We had some survivors of grooming gangs. We had Maggie on and various other individuals. And it's something that I feel like we need to do every couple of weeks and keep in the news. Now, John and I will bat our heads, right? I don't really push back too much with John on this subject on the show, but I'm telling you, John and I have slightly differing views on some particular demographics. And there's a big problem, man. There's a big problem here. And there's a bigger problem. I understand John's concept of the argument is we should be looking at the whole problem and not this demographic of the problem. But my mind is sort of like, we have to treat it like a minefield where we have to diffuse every bit as we go along. But I really do want to keep pushing with this grooming gang stuff because...
Well, whatever you look at it, it's always gone on, and the police have always ignored it.
Correct.
Because this level of criminality doesn't go by the usual pattern. This level of criminality, it contaminates every single strata of society. And that's why it's dangerous for those in charge, because they have a weakness like the lower stock do, So those high up, are just likely to fall into this criminality as those at the bottom of the pile. Whereas dishonest and violent crime tends to be, us serfs down at the bottom. We're dealing with a broken society with broken people that are just damaged, very, very damaged. And that'll be from the elite fee-paying public schools right down to the poor kids that are put in the kids' homes. And until they make child abuse as the #1 policing priority, this will continue. They need to make it. And this is a call out to whether or not any of the reform people watch this, I don't know. But if you do get in, make child abuse cases and criminality the #1 policing priority. And you will see in a generation, our prison population will shrink. Violence, domestic violence.
I agree, John.
Suicide.
No. I agree with you, John. But it's the same thing where I would love to have a microchip in my head and a microchip in my hand, but the people running the microchips ruin it for everyone. It's the people. It's great if we try and do all of this. We need like a solar flare to send us back to the Stone Age, and we need to rebuild. That's about the only thing that I can say, other than a new government coming in, firing everyone and completely rebuilding everything, every new concepts of everything, because it's too interwoven with this evil mindset. And that's the problem, John. We can sit here and we can tell the world how we need to fix this within the police force. But the fact of the matter is, they have to want to fix it.
Yeah, but it is doable. That's what I'm saying. It's not like it's not achievable. It's doable, any officer worth their salt that has been part of a very, very busy, proactive unit that's been sent into a hot spot of crime and has kicked it squarely in the balls and really gone for it and seen crime drop, it's doable and it's provable that it does work. This robust, hard-hitting policing works, but it's got to be enforced at every single level.
I mean, I get that, but listen, man. Here's the thing: you are the creme de la creme of officer that should be taking care of the PDF style crimes.
Look, we're always going to get evil. You know, the devil's a prince of this world. We're always going to get evil. We're always going to get corruption. We might even always get sort of Masonic influence or whatever it may. It's always going to go on there. But we cannot. What we can't do is run from the problem. You know, there's always going to be this disruption, but let's make it difficult for them to get away with this. Years ago, they got away with it too easily. And the likes of myself, Maggie, Lenny, and Mikeyville, we made it more difficult for the police to palm the public off with a load of bullshit, you know, that they're dealing with it. They now know that there's people like us that said, well, actually, they're not dealing with it. And any officer that does gets threatened. So at least we've changed, you know, the game plan now. We've made it easier for those that go now, you know, after us. We've cleared the path. We took the flak, and every one of us got punished severely. But, you know, we did it. And so those pushing up the rear, you know, they've got to take the baton now, and they've got to run with it. We've done our job. The others need to do theirs. You know, and look, there's millions of people know who I am. 5-6 years ago, they didn't have a clue who I was.
Yeah.
They, you know, and they know what. So apart from the odd weirdo that trolls me, on the whole, it's 99% good. And they say, thank you for doing it. I had no media platform. I've not been on international TV programs or anything like that, yet people know me.
John, you have brought awareness like most ex-coppers could only dream of. Okay.
Yeah, of course. And do you know how I did it? I did it by hanging out with ex-criminals.
Also, swimming in your underpants, John. Don't forget about your underpants. Okay, don't forget
underpants swimming. Of course, that's it. Without a doubt.
Yeah, listen, John.
I did it my underpants.
I feel like we're friends, and I can say this to you, right? I almost feel like you're romanticizing a little bit with this. I feel like you've got this want to project a real positive way for the police force to change its image, and I don't think they're remotely interested.
No, they're not. They're not. You're right. They're not. They're not interested. They don't care. They really don't care. It's not.
Like I would love so much for the day to come that we do a live stream where John goes, I'm so proud now of what the police have become. I'm so proud of everything they're doing because they've applied the WEDGER algorithm to it.
But you know,
it's too far gone, John. It's too far gone.
When we're seeing, you know, 10 coppers turning up because the cab driver's playing music too loud, and someone putting a tweet on, and you know they've got a minibus full of coppers turn up, you know, and police enforcing unlawful warrants for evictions and things like that.
Yeah.
You know,
if it was fixable, John, if it was fixable, you and Maggie would have both been run, like whatever the big police promotions are, you both would have got them for exposing the internal problems. But that's the world we live in. You're persecuted, you're pushed out, and your lives are destroyed. And I just want to say, I hope that day comes one day, John. But I love you enough to say, I think we need a solar flare and 200 years without electricity and going back to horses and carts for some perception to really sink in, you know, because when we go back to angry mobs standing in the street shouting at the leaders of their land, it's a different dynamic when there's no media to control people.
Well, let's hope these local elections have put the fear of God into our political.
Oh, I'm so here for Farage. Like I'm so here. But in saying that, I was so here for that guy in the London election that had a bin on his head. You see what I'm saying? I'm literally so here for. Do you know what I would like to be my next prime minister? An iPad, right? And we, as an entire country, dedicate 20 minutes a day to our daily votes for what we want to happen in the country. And everyone gets an iPad, and we've got an AI supercomputer. And we go, oh, shall we buy more schools this week, or shall we invest in this week? And we all vote, and then that just happens, right? Why is that not a great idea?
Well,
I'm not being funny, but we could run the country off an iPad. What do we need? We'll keep the army. We'll keep all the people that make proper decisions about stuff. But why do we need anyone making a decision for our country when we can get up in the morning with our government issue tablet and go, more schools, please. More school. These, please. Do you know that a small town in Spain, either Spain or Portugal, done that exact thing? Their mayor was elected and he got rid of 90% of civil servants and government staff and ran the whole government off Twitter.
Yeah, there's I can't remember. I'm not too much into technology stuff, but there's one of the Central African republics. He's done that. He's put all ministers on half pay, and he's got rid of 60% of them.
Can I just ask, what, Trev? Is it Trev? Yeah, Trevor. Why would you not want that, Trev? Right? Why would you not want, for all of the decisions on spending and all the stuff that matters to the people, in control of the people? Okay, maybe take out the big AI computer if that scared you. All right. But really, other than if, you know, a foreign country's invading us or there's a big terror attack, we've got departments of government that deal with that. We don't really need one appointed person. And if they apparently listen to the word of the people, then let's take away any possible way for that not to happen and run it all off of independent voting. You know, and I'll tell you something else. Let's make the code and all the source code for how we're voting and things like this completely open and transparent.
But look, you know, there's people like me that have been putting out content about what's been going on.
Yeah.
And you know, you might get 1,000 views here, 1,000 there, whatever. And then someone will put a video on about skateboarding cat and 1 million people will watch it.
Yeah, so, but listen, John, that's a good thing. No, listen, that's a good thing. The internet should be for skateboarding cats. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand. Do you ever heard the term brain rot for a style of content on YouTube, where you're basically you're watching a 30-minute long video of 1 minute long clips of funny things happening?
Well, that's what TikTok is.
Do you know? Well, 100%. But do you understand how therapeutic, but also self-destructive that sort of content?
It's horrendously self-destructive. You do nothing with your day, and
right,
and it's highly addictive.
You know, they've just released a new type of smartphone, John, where you've got all the features that you would really, really want from a smartphone, but the screen is like a Kindle. So if you go on to, say, Instagram, all the pictures are how they would appear in black and white on a Kindle. So you can interact with stuff, but it's not as engaging as you would get drawn into, if you see what I mean. So you'd be able, John Wedger's done an update on his Instagram. You know, you're not going to get drawn in because the pictures are so toned down. It's quite an interesting concept of having a device that you can tailor back the things that suck you in, if that makes sense.
My life's got infinitely better because I've got a new dog and I spend hours walking.
Oh my God, who cares about anything else? Get the photos of the dog out. WhatsApp me now pictures of the dog.
Yeah, and I will. I just got a dog and I walk the dog, and it's
John, get the pictures out now. I want to show
swimming.
We all want to see your dog. Send me some pictures of your dog. This is the most exciting news that we've had all day. What type of dog is it? What's his name?
Border Collie, Lucky.
Oh,
Lucky,
is that a boy?
Lucky, the one who bit me. Lucky, the Border Collie.
Is that a boy? Border Collie, like the one that bit you?
Yeah. I'll tell you,
is that a boy or a girl? Boy or a girl?
Creature ever, a Border Collie. They're just.
Is that a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Oh my guy!
Boy, and it was.
I'm so jealous.
It was going to be put down. Someone said we're going to put it down on Wednesday, and you can have it. So I took it.
Oh and, man, how's it integrated?
It's
wait. It's the actual Border Collie that bit you, and it was going to get put down because it bit you, and now it lives with you.
Yeah.
Mate, that is the chancer of a lifetime. I'm telling you, that is the reincarnation of Del Boy right there.
So I called it Lucky.
Oh, well, its nickname is now Nasher. So I'm just saying. I'll tell you what, John, that thing that I'm going to make for you, measure the dog's collar, and I'll send you a nice collar as well.
Oh, nice one. That'd be lovely.
Can I just, no, I'm not, no. I'm too autistic to not dive into this further, John. So how did this all go about? The dog's bitten you, and then what's happened? You've called the police, or
no. They were people were going to put it down, and I told them not to do it anyway. I sort of thought I'd do my dog whispering thing.
So it wasn't a court issued destruction.
And it bit me 1 minute. No, and so 1 second, I'll just.
Sky Spirit, right? So I'm going to ask John if it was a government, like a court-issued destruction of the dog, or if it was the owners of the dog that decided to put the dog down. I imagine the owners decided to put it down, and John's went, "Geese your dog." Right, I've just reminded myself that Uber's here because I feel like he's about to say something, and you would have scared the crap out of me. Also, before even Uber says anything, 28 years later is coming out this year, people. Okay? 28 days later, 28 weeks later, now we're on it 28 years later. I cannot wait. I just rewatched the first two movies. The second movie is incredible. Right, John, was it the owners of the dog that decided to destroy it, and it wasn't court?
Yeah. They didn't want it. So I went round there. They said, look, do you want to take it? We don't want it. We're going to put it down. And so I put my face near it, and it bit me in the eye and nearly took my eye out. And actually, teeth got stuck in my head. It's sort of a bit like that. And I don't know. There's something about it, and I said, I'm going to keep it. I'll take it. And
just
it
as you're
turned
telling that
out
story,
to
John.
be just an amazing dog. It's just brilliant. It's it's fantastic. So yeah, it was. They were worried it was dangerous, but it just frightened. Frightened. They call it fear aggression. But I'm going to have to go, chaps, because I've got to do some bits and pieces.
Listen, thanks for being here, John. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being here, John. We appreciate everything. Make sure you get John's link down in the description. Lilith, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me, Lilith? I'll wait until I get your response, and then I'll end the show. Uber, thanks for being here, mate. You're all a legend as always.
Thank you, John,
now, on Wednesday, I'm going to take up some of your time. I'm going to record an interview with Dana's husband, and then I'm going to have you do your assessment. So
okay, yeah, no problem.
Lilith at Carol. I don't think Lilith was talking to me. Don't think anyone cares. I mean, listen, 2000. There was like 300,000 that was somebody would mention the other day as well. It's just like, listen, I'm already in the middle of shutting down a massive PDF ring. Okay, see, once I've done that, I'll try and find those 2,000 kids. All right, I'll do my best. But Ron's been working on something for 4 years, and it's finally starting to come to fruition. It's just glorious. And Ron is going to do some editing this evening. Deanne, is it your birthday today?
No,
it's not. That's fine. That's fine.
I'll go for that one.
Yeah. That's fine. They're at it. That's fine. Well, I tell you what, you're going to ruin everyone's birthday when it is someone's birthday and none of us care. Okay, the boy that cried wolf.
Yeah,
in fact,
my birthday's at the end of the month. Nobody will give a shit. Everybody will think we're talking absolute crap.
Exactly. Yeah. No, well, I mean, it's a big one for you. 75th, mate. It's a big one. Do you know what I
mean? 50th.
Also, listen. I don't often talk enough about Ciego's fashion choices in his YouTube pictures. Like, this is the third or fourth one he's had in the last sort of year. I would love more than anything for me to be on an episode of Come Dine With Me with Ciego, just so that I can go and look at his shirts in his cupboard. Because you know for a fact this guy has got some absolute bangers, right? Bangers. You know it.
There's no point in me entering that. It would be more like Come Take Away with me or something.
My mum was on it. My mum was on Come Dine With Me.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was, yeah.
Was it?
Well, is it when she is a woman who has a Christmas tree up all year round, and when asked, what would you like to be reincarnated into? And she says, a vulture, so she can peck out the eyes of her enemies. Okay. And I'm like, my G. But they all meet up every year. And go and do something. The whole crowd. Cool. It's really cool. But mental, man. I mean, who keeps a Christmas tree up all year round and goes on like Christmas is the best thing ever? And she's got tartan everywhere.
Chase.
She's got tartan.
That's what I want to do.
Tartan. You want to go in the chase? That is the lamest goal ever. The chase.
I just want to see if I can beat the chaser.
You're not going to beat the chaser.
Oh, I don't know.
I tell you what. I'm going to pick a random episode of The Chase, Okay.
Mhm.
And we're going to recreate it. I'll do all the questions and we'll see how well you do.
Go on then.
We will. Yeah, we will. I'm telling you. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for things for the members on my channel, which is going to be starting soon, the patrons, and Sean's channel members as well. There's a game, right, where me, the person on the stream, I can obviously see the game. Everyone who's watching can see the game. And then the 4 people who are playing the game are not allowed to watch the stream. And I've got to describe to you the bomb that's in front of me, and you've got a bomb disposal manual that you have to listen to me describe, like, components of this bomb and tell me which wires to cut. And I know,
this is going to be brilliant.
I know it sounds silly, but I swear to God, for some reason, when human beings have a ticking timer and a menial task that means nothing, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Lilith, are you talking to me?
Cognitive part of your brain's being overridden.
Dude, it's so fun. It's so fun. Lilith, are you talking to me? Just let me know if you're talking to me. I don't know if you're talking to me. There's a bunch of Rons in here. Oh man, I keep clicking on things. There we go. It's an awesome game, and I've never managed to play it with the community. And I just think bomb disposal weekly game night. Then there's another game where it's like a murder haunted castle trivia thing where hundreds of people can play just by logging in through their phone and answering the questions on their phone. It's awesome too. And I have got 2 little gift bags that I'm going to be putting a post up on Patreon on Monday. If you respond to the post on Patreon, I will pick 2 people at random, and I've got 2 little quartz crystal necklaces that I've made with then 2 little quartz crystals that you can then give to somebody to pass on the good fortune. I'm going to pick them at random and then not tell the people who they are, and then they'll just arrive at your houses and it'll be awesome. And I'm going to be doing the same for 1 person on Discord. And what else? I sat today for like 6 hours and put that little pendant that Dan got me on a new necklace where I sorted out tiny little crystal, obsidian, and opalite beads into sizes and then put them on like a freaking 30-inch necklace. And it acts as like this fidget toy thing. It's awesome. It's awesome. I need to just keep my hands busy. So anyway, I'm waffling. Now, anyone who is interested in Ron's journey that he was on with Bev and all of that, I'm going to be looking at Sundays and Mondays are probably going to be the nights where I want to do something. Like, I'm really tempted to do something tonight, even if it's just a little chitty chat, because what the fuck? I swear to God, Lilith, right? If you don't answer me and just say, yes, Ron, I'm talking to you, imagine you're talking to a 4-year-old. Like, what the? You're still not answering me. Listen, the spectrum is strong today, okay? Don't assume I'm interpreting the world normally. We're on nothing. Bev's great. Bev's awesome.
We see the world very differently, don't we?
Dude, like, it really bothers me when I think I've upset people and then I don't realize why, because I don't. You're talking to me. Yes, my G. Am I okay? Nah. Ron's been horrendously low for about 10 days. Low to the point where Ron spent about 4 hours staring at the wall when he woke up today. And it sucks. And I'm trying to sort it out. But thank you for asking. I appreciate it. That's why the camera's been off for days. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Anyway.
You don't need a chat, bro. You can always shout me, you know.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm so good at taking my own advice. Right? I'm so good at, I'll tell everyone, you just need to let it out. You just need to let it out. I struggle with it all because I've spent 10 years on the internet and so many people have betrayed me, stabbed me in the back, have been doing things that to some people would be so obvious as treacherous, and I've just not noticed it. But don't get me wrong. I'm not referring to you or anything like that. I appreciate what you're saying.
No. But
I am damaged goods, man. Damaged goods when it comes to a lot of things. And they're simple things. Do you know what I mean? They're simple things, man. And
statement.
do you know, I need, no, that's not how, no. I need to get a new dog. That's what I need to do. Right. I need to get a new German Shepherd puppy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I need to do it. I need my familiar back.
German Shepherd, yes.
I need that to happen. I want to try and get a white one. I'm pricing one up. I'm doing my best. And Ron, what's happened? Boots, Boz, T, the way. What? You're going to have to speak less Paisley, mate. Like, dial back the Paisley.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, what's happened? Boot Boz to the wah. What? Honestly, this is what I've got to deal with in Scotland. See, when you leave Edinburgh, like, it's like you go back 300 freaking years. And it's like, has anyone seen Game of Thrones? You know, north of the wall? That's anything outside of Edinburgh. Everything outside of Edinburgh.
What's happened about balls to the wall? That's what she means.
What happened about balls to the wall?
Yeah.
It just leaves a mark.
What's going on when an English guy is telling a Scots guy how to interpret Scottish subtitles?
You're the statement analyst, aren't you? So it makes perfect sense. Well, if she said it, I would understand it. Say the sentence, Kaza. Say the sentence. Say the sentence, Kaza. Say this whole sentence.
I said, what's happened about Boz to the wall?
Yeah. So what you're saying there is a statement that I previously made about balls to the wall and what's happening with it.
No, you and Luke, we're going to be starting a show
Jesus
called
Christ.
To the wall.
Yeah, Luke cancelled and then I've not heard from Luke in weeks. So
right, okay. Ew.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to fight outside, Kaza?
Fucking outside.
You can't swear on the channel, Kaza.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, that's it.
Sorry.
Everyone cancel Kaza on Twitter, okay? No, I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it. But I'll fight you outside. See you in 5.
Right, outside.
Outside.
Taps off, outside.
No. Yeah, right. So what else? Don't know. I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm fired. All right.
No, you're not fired. You're fine. Who's Mandy? Who's Mandy that's fired? Oh, it's Mandy that's fired. Actually, to be perfectly honest, she's if Mandy says you're fired, then we probably need to have a meeting just to clarify, because she's a working professional with a bunch of kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm just kidding. Kaza, you ain't going nowhere. You're one of the family. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can't get rid of me.
Here. Listen, we need to get organized for Asha.
100%, definitely.
Because I ain't coming to Glasgow, so
I will come to Old then.
Aye, definitely. Because everything you need to see in Glasgow when you're only here for 4 days, I can show her in 10 minutes on Google. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, but definitely, I'll come through, definitely.
Right, nice. Well, listen, there should be sleeping arrangements all taken care of. I just need to figure a few things out.
Okay, will Dan be there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the baby? I want to see the baby.
I think the baby will be there and then the baby won't be there.
Right.
Do you realise that it sounds like you're having a conversation with yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I just need to pretend that I'm blending in with the humans by making it seem like I'm having a conversation with Kaza, when really it's the voices in my head. Do you know what I'm saying? So awesome. Well, listen, everyone, thank you for being here. You're all incredible. Please, if you're concerned about YouTube notifications, please come and join the Discord. You will get notifications there. If you're, an adult with children and you hear them talking about Discord, don't worry. It's not a Minecraft server for 14-year-olds. It's a grown-up server with hardcore mods that take no crap from anybody. So it's a wonderful environment, and we've got a demographic group of ages from 30 to 85. So trust me, just come along. Yeah, just come
Join
along.
it. It's
Amazing
fun.
bunch of
It's
people.
fun, and it's
Yeah, we also have. Check PayPal, Ron. I will. I just want to say thank you to. What was the name? I think it was Chantel. 1 second. Yeah, Chantel. Thank you for that lovely little surprise for my birthday. I really did appreciate it. I'm checking PayPal now.
where is yours, Jan? Is she here?
Ah, thank you so much. Ah, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. I will keep doing what I'm doing. And this week there's going to, like I say, I've been trying to get my Patreon up and running, and we're going to talk a little bit about the future and all that kind of stuff, because
Cool.
Ron is so excited that he's finally doing guests and interviews. Ron is going to have all his lives posted between tonight and tomorrow for this week. Some of them will be Ron live show, live interview, and then you'll see a new thumbnail and then a new title being added to them. But I want everyone to have clarity when the shows are going to be going up. And personally, I'm doing a mix of topics. So we've been covering Virginia, so I'll use that case for an example. If I'm doing 3 shows in one night, if there's a major topic, I'll maybe do one solo show on the topic, a true crime interview, and then a panel or a guest or an Uber show or something on the topic after. I want to focus on a mix of stuff, and I think that's what you guys want too. So just keep me right, and I'll keep putting out what you want, guys. All right. I appreciate every single one of you. There was close to 2,000 people across all platforms tonight. There was over 1,000 on YouTube.
Wow.
I just can't thank you all enough for your support. And
You're welcome, man.
what the heck? Lilith is on one in the side chat. Just
Lilith? Oh no, I've just. Oh my goodness!
listen, as
Lilith.
long as it's consensual, Lilith, you go to town, mate. You go to town. Girl's got to eat. A girl's got to eat. But come and join the Discord.
I'll give him my address.
Right, Uber. You're getting expelled for that. That's a yellow card for Uber. Uber gets a yellow card. It's a yellow card, mate. Okay. Next thing, he'll be messaging people saying that he's a CIA underage operative from frickin' Planet Narnia. Okay, but listen, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being awesome. Put a 1 in the side chat if you think Mandy's in a car park waiting for her kids to finish something and she's just waiting to pick them up with a massive Starbucks. I'm just saying it's probably true. How freaking Canadian is Mandy, by the way, when she was on the Surviving Life podcast the other night? She is so Canadian. She goes so Canadian when she's being serious. The aboots, the A's and the aboots come out real hard. It was awesome. It's awesome. It's it's when we moved to Discord. Okay, Lilith.
Everybody wants to move to Discord, so we're going to have to jump in live in there.
Oh, right. Okay, right.
We are being requested.
Yeah, all right,
to
that's
go.
fine. That's fine. Okay, we shall please the people. All right, don't mess with don't mess with Mandy. Absolutely not.
Let you finish up.
All right,
bye guys.
Bye.
See you soon.
See you all later, my G's. I love you all so much. Thank you for your support. You all mean so much to me, and I can't express that enough. So, see ya.